And with that being said, let's welcome Anna. Hi, Anna. I don't know where you are on here yet. I we have 164 people, and I haven't quite found you, but I'm looking. You might need to
Understanding.
unmute. Hi, Dennis. Oh, there you are, Anna. I see you now.
I'm showing you my Black River Falls, Wisconsin Tigers uh, football hoodie.
This is awesome. Okay, by the way, this is permission for everyone who's just kind of stuck in the rabbit hole. Okay, you might be stuck in the rabbit hole. It's okay to enjoy life. It's okay to go out and spend time with friends and family and do muggle things. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to act like you're normal once in a while. Okay, and go out to eat, go enjoy a game, go put your blinders on and forget that the world is incredibly royally screwed up. Okay, you can go to a dinner party, enjoy a baby shower. Okay, whatever it is, right, Anna? Otherwise, what are we doing this for?
Hey, my advice for the last, I don't know how long, has been to enjoy, to take a little break and really think about what you want and need in life, and what makes you happy, what makes you comfortable, what you value. Um, those are the things that we need to concentrate on and really have a clear vision of. Because I tell you right now, we're in the middle of a humongous transition. And, the way it goes is all a matter of energy flow. We've got some absolutely unheard of possibilities and options and opportunities. We are making great progress and strides now toward figuring out what was done that messed things up, and therefore what we need to do to get things back on track. And I'm talking about we, the whole world here. I'm not just talking about us. But yeah, some of the things that have gone on have been very deeply buried, and they've been off in a little hole somewhere. And we have just recently been able to connect some dots that have been troublesome for years. And as a result, now we're gaining traction in places that we never had traction before. And that's a nice thing. So we're making progress on all the money issues, making progress on rebuilding the interfaces for the bank and getting everything open source. We are beginning the process of bringing the complaint and exposure to what happened with the Global Family Bank and Hunter's role in it. We're also exposing Judge Adrian Fonzie, who he's been working with the military factions that have basically commandeered a lot of our wealth. And so we are exposing that whole little situation too. And hopefully before the week is out, we'll have more background and more information from other people and other governments to bring forward some changes to things that they kind of slipped in on the side. As if that were the first time they ever pulled something nefarious. But anyway, yeah, we're making some really good strides. I'm feeling good about it. I got poked and prodded about my non-professional appearance. So I wore a hoodie just to be sure that everybody got a good look at the non-professional appearance. I should explain first and foremost that my pen name, Anna von Reitz, is a it's a foreshortening of my actual family name from way back, which was von Reichenstein, okay, which means rolling stone in German. So I'm one of the original Rolling Stones, in case you didn't know. But anyway, this complaint about my non-professional appearance, I'm coming to you after the work day in any event. And when I turned about 60 years old, I had been retired for a number of years at that point. And I said to myself, self, it's time for play clothes. And so, from here on in, it's play clothes. Whenever I want or need or just get a hair crosswise and decide that I'm going to wear play clothes, let me tell you, I'm going to wear sneakers. I'm going to wear blue jeans. I'm going to be in play clothes. And I've hung up my spurs and my A-line skirt and my stiletto heels. And I am going on the play clothes theory that after you've turned 70 years old, you can wear whatever the hell you want.
That's right. Not only do you not have to give a you know what, but you also, right, can wear those stilettos. What size shoe do you wear, Anna? We'll make sure you get a few pairs of stilettos.
uh, no, I used to I used to do the do. I had my years in corporate life and, you know, fought all the battles that everybody fights, but nope, I'm going to be relaxed. If I'm going to work for free, I'm going to be relaxed, right? I'm going to be comfortable and I'm going to have a good time to the extent that I can. So speaking of good times, all you earth angels out there, some of you are going through some very weird stuff right now.
Boy,
Some
ain't
of
that
you,
the truth. Yes.
yeah, some of you are having real profound physical reactions to the changes in the external radiation field. And, there are things you can do about that, but the symptoms are pretty widespread. If you're having trouble sleeping long hours, or not being able to sleep at all, they have been running tests on the 6G system, and they haven't ever even bothered to test the effect of 6G on biological systems. So, and on top of that, the sun has been at an all-time solar flash output here off and on for the past several weeks. And so we're getting blasts of gamma rays and blasts of plasma hitting the upper atmosphere and impinging on us at unprecedented levels. So an awful lot of people have been affected by this, and don't worry if you are, that's to be expected. That's completely natural. It's a little bit hard to deal with in terms of keeping up a schedule, but it's not anything too unknown or too weird. We know why it happens, and it's expected to ease off here after this weekend. So hopefully you'll be back to kind of a normal sleep and rest schedule and start feeling better this coming week. Just wanted to put that in there for all of you who are experiencing this. My son has been sleeping 18 hours a day, and that just about fits with the schedule of his cat, Stripey, who likes to sleep 18 hours a day. I told him I didn't think he was turning into a cat. It just seems that way. The rest of the week has gone very well. We've made real good progress toward establishing exactly the right verbiage for our continental marshals for their appointment letters. we have appointment letters. The US Marshals have commissions because they're Navy and military and we are civilian. So we had to do a bunch of research into that, but yeah, our guys are now well on their way to having all of their complete star and commission packages. And we now have 71 Continental Marshals. So that's not a huge force, but when you consider that each one of those 71 men can deputize as many others as they need, that's beginning to sound a lot better than when we first started out. But just a handful.
Well, and Anna, I don't know if you know this or not, but we have a lot of new people on the call tonight. This week has been an unusually high number of there have been an unusually high number of requests to for people to be included on the invite list and for tonight's call. Now, obviously, this call, the recording goes to the Rumble channel, the Mop and Bucket, so it goes to everybody. But this has been a really interesting week in terms of requests all over the country, people wanting to be included on the invite list. So there are many new people that are interested in serving on their assembly. And could you give just a few sentences for the new people about the role of our Continental Marshals and how they interface with the state assemblies?
Sure. One of the things that we discovered about how our government had been mismanaged here was that the old federal marshals had been defunded. They were phased out. And when they were phased out, that left a big open stretch, a big jurisdiction that was not even covered by any form of law enforcement in that jurisdiction. So we were missing a vital part of the public safety net. And it was precisely in that area where interstate smuggling, bank fraud, drug smuggling, human trafficking, all these heinous crimes, counterfeiting, all those sorts of things take place and have to be addressed. And so the Continental Marshals replaced the federal marshals. And since the federal marshals were defunded, we have created our own volunteer organization to cover that vacated jurisdiction and bring some enforcement back in to deal with those crimes that really do inhabit that jurisdiction, which just happen to be some of the very worst crimes that we're facing. So our guys are out there. The Continental Marshals are ASNs that in their states that, you know, they all live in a state of the union. They all join their assemblies. They're all ASNs. They have all the rights and responsibilities of any ASN. They cannot be state citizens while they're employed as Continental Marshals because Continental Marshals are Federation personnel, right? And so they're somewhat limited in that they cannot serve as state citizens during their employment as Continental Marshals, but they should not be looked at as somebody who's foreign to the assembly. Always remember the difference between the Federation and federal. Okay, the federal government was named after the Federation, and the Federation was the delegator of the delegated powers. But the Federation still exists apart from the federal subcontractors. So if you're mad at the federal government, it's most likely because they have done so many things that have been criminal. And that is because there hasn't been anyone around to enforce the constitutions.
Now,
Now,
what kinds of crimes would they be um, what kinds of crimes would happen that would have them step in to enforce the law?
well, we're just beginning the real slam dunk enforcement on things like identity theft of American babies, mischaracterizing American babies as U.S. capital C British territorial citizens, and then further misrepresenting them as franchises of Roman municipal corporations and setting up all of these different quote unquote trusts that they then use for nefarious purposes of money laundering and peonage and enslavement. And so these are issues that we're really taking up the food chain as far as it'll go to get them to stop these registration activities on our shores and to return those who never were British subjects to their rightful status as Americans. And I think that as understanding of the situation grows and more people come to terms with what's happened, not just in this country, but in an estimated other 60 countries, right? This is a real problem worldwide where commercial interests have weaseled their way in and have overtaken and usurped against the rightful lawful national governments. And people are especially shocked to find out that this happened in England 300 years ago. So I just wrote a little article about the case against Scotland, and the case against Scotland derives from the British situation in general, in which England's land jurisdiction has been vacated for a long, long time. And so that means that they cannot function as a country. And yet it was to the advantage of the bureaucracy and the commercial interests that the land stay vacated, because then they could operate with a free hand and do anything they wanted to do without the oversight and without the prohibitions of land law. Land law is, from our standpoint, as people, the law that we depend upon. You've always heard of the constitutions being called the law of the land. Well, that's in contrast to law of the sea or law of the air, municipal law. And so when we lost the land law, we also lost the constitutions. The constitutions still exist, but thanks to these people going around registering American babies as British subjects, we can't access our constitutions. And that's why we have this entire process of declaring your actual rightful political status. There are a lot of people who think, well, oh, that's just fraudulent, and so I don't have to respond to it. But no, they actually created registration paperwork. They had your mother sign it, and they had the doctor, or in most cases, the doctor who was present at your delivery, sign it. And they have verified falsely that you're British subjects. And so you have to go back as an adult and say, hey, wait a minute. I don't give my allegiance to the king or to the crown corporation. And once you do that, well, and place that on a good, stable public record, then the people that are working this fraud scheme no longer have the right and reason to presume upon you. And so, that's why we do it, so that our actions are clearly defined, and our political status is clearly defined, and the intent of our action is clearly defined. And that's something that a lot of other groups just skip over. But believe me, when it comes to the kinds of arguments that I get into with other countries and with international courts and with, even commercial interests, it matters that we've taken that extra step and actually declared and published our political status as that of American state nationals. And I also wanted to point out, one of the things that gets in people's way is that they go looking at federal code and they find that in federal code, the only state nationals are American Samoans. Well, what's American Samoa is a federal territory and or possession, right? So they're talking about a territorial state national, not a state national in the terms that we use. We have a different vocabulary than the federales. And in fact, we have two designations for state nationals. There's state nationals with a small s and a small n, and that refers to people in their jurisdiction on the soil, on the counties. And then we have capital S, capital N state nationals, and that's the people that are inhabiting and occupying the international state, like Wisconsin and California. So we have occupied our land and soil jurisdictions. And when we occupy our land and soil jurisdictions, that also gives us control over the sea and the air. And as I am constantly reminding everybody, we do have American Admiralty law. We are not dependent on the Brits for our maritime law at all. And so what we do have is a treaty with them, such that when we open a bank, they have to recognize a commercial bank that we open, if and when we open one. As it turns out, we've had plans for quite some time to open a commercial bank, and we've named those banks and everything, but we had not opened a commercial bank yet when Hunter pulled his little criminal commandeering scheme. So what they commandeered was an American publicly chartered bank, and they unlawfully converted it and committed a crime called mirroring and set up a British territorial licensed commercial bank to try to substitute it and use it to impersonate our publicly chartered bank. So it's a scenario that the Brits have employed from the very beginning, where, for example, they substituted their corporation president, Abraham Lincoln, for the Federation of States president. And they substituted British territorial state of state organizations for American state of state organization. They regularly substitute their corporate franchises or their public trusts or other entities for us. And they've been getting away with this in a wholesale fashion for many years, until finally we are putting our foot down and we're waking up and realizing what's been done and how it's been done and taking them to task for that. Now, part of the big fight that we're facing worldwide is that people have been misrepresented as dependents, as political asylum seekers, as employees, as corporate franchises, even as shareholders.
Sorry, Anna, we had a hot mic there for a moment.
Sure. So everybody's been misrepresented. I guess what my favorite misrepresentation in terms of it being really truly loony is that we've even been misrepresented as special purpose vehicles.
Well, the whole definition of vehicle by itself
Go.
indicates. Sorry, there we go again. Renee, Renee, you've got a hot mic. Thank you. The definition of vehicle as it relates to, they're clear about what they're doing and what they mean by a vehicle and all of it. But what happens when they confuse us for being special purpose vehicles or vessels or transmitting utilities, right? These all have different meanings for their various jurisdictions. And what's important for all of us is to recognize when one version of our name is being utilized for profit in their incorporated system.
Right. Right. And so one of the most effective things that you can do to shut them down is to just cancel all powers of attorney and plainly state that you do not accept representation of any kind.
Mhm.
And that just cuts to the quick on a lot of this stuff. You know, if they send you a summons or try to get you to serve on a jury or coerce you into doing something else that would indicate you were a foreign citizen in your own country, just say we don't accept solicitations. We can thank Niti for that. The solicitation and angle of that had not really struck me until one of our young, I say young people in North Carolina, came up with that as a reply. And the more we thought about it, the more we realized she's absolutely right. They are soliciting business from us and refusing to be represented and refusing to do business with them, refusing solicitation. And remember, Bar Association members are esquires, they're foreign, they are part of the British title system, and they are solicitors. That's what they're called in Britain. They're solicitors or barristers.
Aren't they also called little devils or something?
Yes, they're called devils in Scotland. And from what I've seen, yes, they truly deserve that. Here's something about the bar history that people generally don't know. The law that they practice is a maritime practice in Roman civil law. And so the attorneys that dealt on the docks with ships coming in 24/7 from all points on Earth and docking and leaving at all hours and bringing cargoes of various kinds and contraband being smuggled in and control of the wharf and control of the warehouses around the wharf and all of the customs houses and exchange houses and all of that stuff had to be controlled, right? And so you had what? The bar attorneys. And they were called bar attorneys, not because of the railing separating the gallery from the main court arena, but because they used to do their business in bars, literally.
You mean like they were shooting back, I don't know, whiskey or rum or gin or whatever, and they're, because it was
Right,
ours? Okay.
right. And the way that this relationship with the bailiffs, that this is all seagoing, this is all sea terms. The bailiffs were the waiters in these bars, male waiters that would bring the food and the beer and whatever. And what the bar attorneys would do is they would come in and they would put a whole pile of change in the middle of the table as tips, right? And the bailiffs were their tip staff. Okay. And so when the lawyers went home for the day and things, what would happen when, okay, think about this. You've got all these ships there from all over the world docked. And what happens when the sailors get liberty when they reach a port? They go absolutely stark raving wild, right?
And they
They
get
go out,
and they get tipsy.
they get real tipsy, and they, what's the first thing? They're looking for a fight and they're looking for a girl, and out they go, you know. And so you have all this wild activity in these harbor towns and around the docks and everything all the time. Plus, this is where an awful lot of international smuggling takes place, right? Going out and in. And so this is a real wild environment that these attorneys are functioning in and these customs agents. And so the bailiffs would be there, keeping these pubs open 24/7. And when a ship's mate or a ship's member came ashore and caused trouble, say that they went to a bar and they got in a fight and they broke up a bunch of chairs and caused scuffs on the floor, all that. So the ship's captain wants to leave port, right? And he's got half a dozen men in jail for having gone in and broken up a bar. And so he has to go and he does what? He pays bail to that bailiff to guarantee the damages will be met by the ship. Otherwise, he can't get his crew back onto the ship to sail the ship. So this is where this whole thing of bail and bailees and bailiffs comes from. And the bailiffs would hold the money for the bail, and if the ship didn't return in a specified amount of time, they would give the bail money to the damaged person, the bar owner or whoever else had been damaged by the reckless sailors. And then
Well,
it makes great sense now. I want to prepare you for this. This is important, folks. What is a taxpayer? A taxpayer is a British merchant marine warrant officer who collects taxes for the king on goods and services in maritime transport.
I'm almost starting to think that that is every quote employer that has a business license in this maritime jurisdiction. I may be wrong about this, but it seems like the employers are not only the tax collectors, but also the taxpayers.
Well, they are, but think about this. Why do you need a business license to conduct business in your own state?
Yeah, you don't. You
And
don't
and and
know.
And are you really a British maritime merchant mariner? You know, are you collecting taxes for the king?
No, and I've never even been that for Halloween. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I
I've
know.
never
And
been
all
dressed
this,
up that.
yeah, you couldn't make this stuff up.
Or at a
But
costume party. Never done that.
right, maybe this year we should go as taxpayers. We'll get all gadded up as British merchant mariners. Um, you know, merchant mariners are really hard to tack down. Number one, they're unionized and they dress like everybody else, except when they're on board the boat, you know? And so these are this is where we get our tax system, or rather the tax system that we've been coerced into is all British. And that's why you can never get a straight answer out of the IRS when you ask, well, what's the definition of a taxpayer? You can go all the way through Title 26 and not find a straight definition of what a taxpayer is.
No, because when you do that, okay, I've been down this rabbit hole. When you do that, they talk about resident, they talk about U.S.citizen, they talk about all this stuff that has nothing to do with a man or a woman that's earning a living.
Right. They're
Yeah.
not supposed to. Here's another thing. Here's another telltale. In the entire time that the Internal Revenue Service has been going out and attacking people, uh, the only definition, and they got real spunky about this too. The Supreme Court said, okay, we're going to define income once for all time, and we're never going to visit this again. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Wait till people on the call and the playback start digging into the definition of income. But go ahead, Anna.
The definition of income, the only definition of income that the Supreme Court has ever given us is profit separated from capital. This clearly is a corporate form of profit, and the tax is supposed to be on the profit of the corporation. Are you a corporation?
Nope.
And do you get any federal income? Does Uncle Sam send you a paycheck?
Nope. And neither do I get state income. By the way, this is homework for everybody listening to this call, whether you're listening live or listening to the playback. I want you to go to your files, however old, it might have been, as recent as January of this year. Go pull out one of those things that they refer to as a quote W-2. Go check it out. Does it say anywhere on there federal income with a dollar amount?
No,
Or
and it won't.
and it won't. Or state income with a dollar amount? No, it won't.
They
So,
will never put the dollar sign on any of this. It's just numbers.
well, and sometimes there's even no numbers. It's just blank.
Oh, I've never seen one like that.
Oh yeah, well, we're gonna have to have a side conversation.
Well, you see, they're losing the battle. They're losing the battle. You may have seen that Trump put up a proposal to get rid of the IRS totally. And he more or less has to, because they've been shown up to be a bunch of privateers operating on our land and soil without any authority to be here. And so, yeah, they're under assault. And it's not just that Trump is being a nice guy and getting rid of them. It's the fact that we're bringing the fight to them on the facts. And so, yeah, the IRS has got limited days, and I can't wait until that magic moment comes and it's announced quietly so that it only hits certain channels that the IRS, as we have known it, is gone from our shores. And the only place it can exist
I mean,
is
so be it.
the District of Columbia.
That's right. The 10 mile squared is subject to all of these rules, regulations, ordinances, mandates, measures, law, quote, laws. That belongs in the 10 mile squared, and that's it.
Right. And really, they never had even the insular tariff cases, which allowed them to operate in the U.S. possessions and territories, strictly speaking, never gave them any right to come here to the states of the Union. So, yep, all this stuff is coming out. People are beginning to understand how they've been bamboozled, how they've been swindled in terms of their money and loans and everything else. And, you know, we just keep bringing it forward. We keep, you know, um, pushing the fact that the territorial government is supposed to be protecting us from this kind of thing. And instead, they've been profiting themselves and going along with it. And so a lot of this is now breaking open further into the public view. And people are getting upset enough so that they're beginning to look for answers. And I think that also a lot of people are looking for escape from the duress. I mean, simply being free of the threat is an amazing thing. I mean, just feeling free of the threat of being attacked by the IRS. They're some of the most vicious attack dogs that were ever created, and some of the most vicious privateers. And they have created such a horror in the minds and hearts of so many people that merely the name makes people shiver and quake. And it shouldn't be like that. You know, in the early days, I used to say, how free do you feel on April 15th? Tell me that. You know, and think about this. This is clearly peonage because they're taxing your earnings. And what did you give in exchange for your earnings? Your time, your labor, your energy.
Your
You,
brilliance, your
right.
creativity. Yeah.
You are being taxed for things that when you are taxed for those things, you're either in peonage or slavery. And so they don't dare to call it earnings, but that's what it is. And so they tried to impersonate you and claim that you're a corporation so that they could tax profits of the corporation. And this is all so phony that you just want to grab them by the neck and shake until dead. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and I was watching the part of I couldn't watch the whole thing, but part of the Senate hearing, there was a Senate meeting really early in the morning today, and it was in regards to Anthony Fauci and
mhm.
the 111 pleading the fifth statements, et cetera. And one of the things that came up in the today's deliberations was in regards to that he was afraid. He could have been, they actually only speculated that he could have been afraid. And I thought to myself, how many Americans, and I'm talking about Americans, not just U.S. citizens or municipal citizens of the United States. I'm talking about Americans right now. How many Americans actually stress out at night because of the threats being perpetrated against them by employees of the subcontractor?
Right.
It's absolutely, unequivocally one of the greatest crimes in history that these people that work for these organizations, these for-profit subcontractor organizations, it's a crime against humanity that they are in infiltrating the minds and hearts of men and women all over this nation who have status corrected, who have decided to stand firm and help to assemble, and yet they're being threatened by these maskless, and I say maskless, no pun in relation to COVID. I'm just talking about like they're not,
Criminals.
they're absolute criminals, and they've been undercover because of the organizations that they work for.
Right.
When
They're acted
all
under color of law is the name, is the description of it.
yes, under color of law, when men and women have always had the highest authority, only anything being done to them can be done by consent. But all of the fraud and the fear factor against people
Oh
has
yeah.
running the show this whole time. People are operating out of fear, fear of losing their jobs, fear of losing their families, fear of losing their um, property. And it should not be that way. But yet,
Right.
someone like Anthony Fauci, who participated in a cover up and perhaps even one of the most vast, most vile, most disgusting harms against living people, gets to say, oh, he might have been afraid. Okay, he might have
Right.
been afraid. What about all the people who are actually afraid and unable to sleep and suffering because of the, wayward employees of employees of employees?
Right.
It's
Right. Well, and how does Anthony Fauci have any rights under the Constitution? He's not a parenthood.
exactly right. He's working for what was it? NIAID, which was a subcontractor of a subcontractor of a subcontractor.
Right. But still a federal subcontractor, still operating as a federal person, part of the federal personnel sub, system, and also getting a paycheck from Uncle Sam. So by definition, he's not covered by the Constitution. He's under the Constitution. And this is a big misunderstanding that we have absolutely got to get cleaned up.
I know you've written about this extensively, but maybe you can help to summarize right now so that everybody listening can further comprehend why we are not subjects under the Constitution. We're not subjects of the Constitution. Can you help to enlighten people about that?
Well, quite apart from being a sacred cow, the Constitution is a labor contract. It's a service contract in which we are contracting with foreign service providers that are in the business of providing essential government services. So, who hires? The states hire through the Federation of States these federal subcontractors who are supposed to provide us with certain enumerated services. And we then give them certain enumerated powers so that they can provide those services for us. And our states promise to pay them for these services in gold or silver coin. This is what the constitutions actually are. This is what the constitutions actually say. They're labor contracts, and we, the states, through their federation of states, hired these yahoos, set them up in business, defined how they're supposed to operate, defined what services they're supposed to provide, and separated them into 3 different jurisdictions that they were supposed to operate in. And they managed to create a unlawful, illegal law, in terms of what they did, and create a quote unquote civil war, a mercenary conflict on our shores, and create a whole different structure for themselves with nobody being the wiser. And they pulled this all off and have been running rampant ever since. But one of the key things that you have to notice about this is who are the parties to the constitutions? The 2 constitutions out of 3 that are still active. You've got the British territorial subcontractors, and their principal is the King of England, or the British monarch as it is, because there's no King of England since about 1700. And then you have the Pope and the Holy Roman Empire that is the subcontractor for the municipal government. And on our side of it, holding the other end of the string, are the state assemblies, the state governments. Well, what happens when the state assemblies go dormant and are no longer present to be able to pay the federal subcontractors? Well, then the federal subcontractors claim that we're missing. They don't know where we went. Our government is in interregnum for an unknown period of time. We're absent. They don't know what happened to us. And they act under what they call emergency powers that were never granted to them and which have no basis in consensual authority. And they come in here and they start taking from us. They start illegally confiscating. They start racking up bills against our credit. And then when their corporations go bankrupt, the bankruptcy trustees dump all those bills on our shoulders and start extracting it from our labor and from our produce and our businesses. And they've been working this for 6 generations now, getting away with it. And our job is to boot our state assemblies into full-blown operation and take back that power and take back the gold and silver and start paying these bills outright so that we then have control of the purse strings as we're supposed to.
Well, and you know what you're saying is so important, Anna, right? Because we have a lot of people that want to be on this call just by virtue of being on this call. And I don't mean to take this on a tangent, but what you're saying is really important because our state assemblies are tasked with standing up our state assembly government, our lawful land jurisdiction government, which has international interface. We're also tasked with making sure that our counties are empowered to also stand up their county level soil jurisdiction government so that we have the enforcement power by virtue of people stepping up, serving in the necessary positions and saying, I'm here, I'm of this jurisdiction, I'm ready to support, I'm of the land or I'm of the soil, whichever. And then putting forth the appropriate documents on the public record and declaring ex parte Milligan, getting all the appropriate agencies on notice that the Americans are back.
We're back.
Woo-hoo! Okay.
They're not exactly thrilled to see us, I can tell you, but yeah, we're back.
We're back and better than ever.
Well, yeah, we're getting there.
But this is necessary. A lot of people want to just be part of this call because you're on the call. And listen, I don't mean this in a wrong way in any case, but you have so much knowledge and so much experience to pass on to all 50 states and all of the counties that sometimes people get influenced by like celebrity power almost, okay? But people should be on this call because they're interested in restoring their lawful government at both the state level and at each of the county levels, each county on their state. So we're here to make sure that we get the knowledge necessary to do this job, which of course involves outreach and setting up our lawful government. All of that is very important. But Anna, could you speak to what's missing on our assemblies that might really make a difference for us to kind of get across that finish line?
Well, the biggest thing is the General Assembly, getting your courts up and running and being able to turn to the federal employees and say, well, we don't need your help anymore. Thanks much. You know, and living according to our public law instead of living under any kind of presumption of federal title authority or anything like that. Because that's all foreign law. It's all foreign international law. And as I have explained ad nauseum, once you go out into international jurisdiction, everything out there is dead. I mean, you're talking about dead entities. You're talking about businesses. You're talking about offices. You're talking about, you know, it's the realm of the dead is international law. And they have placed all of us under one or more forms of international law, which is, it's intended to apply to businesses that are operating either at sea or in the realm of the air, which is where we find the realm of ideas, patents, land descriptions, performance contracts, all that sort of stuff is in the air jurisdiction. But, you know, we don't even, most of us don't even belong in any of that. Most of us have never even smelled an actual contract to do anything in the jurisdiction of the sea. And most of us have never had performance contracts of the kinds that are supposed to be recorded or registered with the municipal government either. So you've got two forms of foreign law that are being imposed upon us, much to our loss and detriment. And we're being expected to pay the bill for all of this when we don't have to. I mean, we contracted for 18 enumerated services, and that's it. And instead, yeah, and instead we're getting charged for all of it, and we're getting charged for it as individuals instead of as states. The states are supposed to be paying for the federal services, and it's the state citizens that are supposed to be acting in their capacity as, you know, from all 50 states to say yay or nay and to pony up the money to pay the federal government. The federal government is not supposed to be stealing from us and then kicking back little bits and pieces as federal block grants. It's entirely backward. So we have to face up to the fact that things have been flipped on their heads for, you know, a 180-degree flip for 160 years. And it's going to take effort and awareness and study and determination to get this canoe back on the right side up position. But anyway, that's, I feel like I've been on my soapbox and I need to answer questions.
All right. Well, then with that, let's go to the first hand up. We've got Rocky on Nevada. Go ahead, Rocky.
How you doing there, Anna?
Hi
Hey,
there, Rocky.
I want to talk about one of the ballots or whatever that you came up with that talks about unincorporated.
Right.
We're all talking about different things on how that would affect us in different ways. One of them would be on our 1779s or our assumed names. Would we have to put unincorporated on our names and other things in
No,
those documents?
no, it starts out, you know, if we get our act together and do it by September 1st, it would take effect September 1st, or it would take effect October 15th, or, you know, whenever it gets done is when it would be in effect. But I have to point out to everybody that using that as a descriptor, not as part of the name, but as a descriptor attached to the end of your business name, is much to your advantage. It protects your business, it defines your business, it tells them that, oh, we're not one of you, and we're not subject to all your suppositions about us and about our business. It's like hanging a red flag on your front door and says, no IRS required, forget about property taxes, you know? And
Mhm.
so, advertising your business as an unincorporated business and then putting a disclaimer up on your wall inside the business, just saying federal employees and dependents receive services and buy things here at their own risk. And then you have withdrawn yourself from their system and they can't really come after you.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's a lot of advantage to having that little descriptor attached to your name because you are not a corporate entity. And
Right.
that gives you a lot of freedom, latitude, and protection that you don't have otherwise. If we had had something like this in place from the get-go, and we had named our bank the Global Family Bank Unincorporated, then there's no way that they could come in and just sleaze by and confuse themselves with us because they are incorporated.
Right. Well, the other part of that too is like in the name, like the Nevada Assembly, would we have to say the Nevada Assembly unincorporated? Or,
Going forward, you would, yes.
and even for the counties, like the Clark County Assembly unincorporated. So we would need
Yes,
to specify that. And anytime
yes,
that we use the United, the United States of America unincorporated,
right,
excuse me. So we'd have to do that going forward after September 1st or whenever we
right.
all vote for that in. And it doesn't affect our actual paperwork. Would it affect our paperwork going forward on any changes that would be in there?
Yes, going forward, anytime you have a new business recorded or you um, have cause to identify yourself, you can definitely use unincorporated. Now, using that descriptor,
Mhm.
there this is a measure to protect our business. And once we get our business out of that system, once we get our people back uh, into their box and we have our subcontractors either off our shores entirely or operating according to their labor contract, all of this will go away and to a great degree, it will seem like, why do we have to say unincorporated?
Mhm.
And the reason that we're doing this will fade into the rear view mirror because
Mhm.
people will, they will forget. And
Yeah. One of the things my English teacher always told me, he goes, always say what you mean what you say. Okay. Which is the same thing is that if you really want to make people understand what it is you're doing, you would put the word unincorporated. It's like all the websites I've created for the Union State, it says unincorporated. For the counties, it says unincorporated. I've been doing that for the last 2, 3 years because I feel that we need to tell them we're not them. We are the unincorporated governments, right?
right. And
And
that
this
is the
ballot that
purpose.
you're doing, I think you just want to put it in writing so that they know this is what we're saying from now on, right?
Right, right. And so that there's a definition out there
Mm-hmm.
now. And if somebody says, well, what do you mean you're unincorporated?
Mm-hmm.
It means that we're not part of your incorporated system. It means that our businesses are unincorporated. We are not franchises or franchisees of anything. And,
Wow.
because our government is unincorporated, all of the different subunits of our government are unincorporated by
Right,
nature.
right. So
And
is there anything that's going to be coming out of the living law firm on paperwork or something that we need to look at to change, like change our paperwork in general to make sure that it follows in with that law or that ballot?
Well, that's a good question. To tell you the truth, we haven't thought about it. It is one of those things that, we might have you know, an ad descriptor form or something like that.
Uh-huh.
But it's actually, yeah, that's business that is more typically something that a state of state organization would do. And because we don't have a state of state, we wind up doing it ourselves.
Right.
So yeah, probably it would be best to have like a after the fact name change to add descriptor.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would be Joe's Hamburger Shop unincorporated, and we would simply add unincorporated as a descriptor to the name.
Right.
That would be
Okay.
very
Well,
simple.
yeah, if we could get something, because we want to make sure that we do it right and we have the right wording and it doesn't influence what we're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
So if you could talk to them or something, that would be good for us, everybody in all the assemblies, so that we have something, some kind of guide, on how to do things.
sure,
So we don't,
sure.
we all want to make sure we're doing the right things, you know what I'm saying? So it's good if we had some kind of following or something, that it was either on task or something that said, or one of your articles, that says this is
Sure.
what we should be doing, right?
Yes,
So,
just add descriptor,
right.
just a form to add the descriptor officially to your business name. And
Okay.
I think we can save ourselves an awful lot of trouble by
Uh-huh.
doing this. I
Right.
think that we can save ourselves a lot of attacks and a lot of misery down the path by
Mhm.
doing this.
Well,
And
I think it would keep them from trying to take over our businesses and our different things. I mean, it's kind of protecting us, even though
yeah,
it's something we have to do extra, but it's doesn't leave any windows open for them to try to climb in. You know what I'm saying?
exactly. That's the idea is,
Mhm.
protect our business by defining our business and making it clear that it's American, it's unincorporated, and it does not fall in your bailiwick,
Mhm.
you know?
Right.
So
Okay.
that's why we're doing it. And I'll see what I can do about a, change name form to add
Or something.
descriptor.
Okay. I appreciate it. I'm going to yield and let somebody else talk. Thank you very
Take care,
much.
Rocky.
Thanks a lot, Rocky. Okay, Diana, go ahead, Diana.
Thank you, friends. I think your answer to Rocky pretty much covered the question some from the assembly had, but I'll ask it again, just in case you have different input to add to it. So concerning the unincorporated status, as it is our choice as a free people to claim or show unincorporated status with our trades, if we choose to not use unincorporated, they would want assurance that we do not lose or give away some of or part of our rights with the new law we're going to be voting in. Thank
Well,
you, Anna.
technically, you're not incorporated anyway. Technically, you've been given a franchise and they're assuming that you're using that franchise. Okay, let me show you how this works. You have a license to drive, not a license to travel, a license to drive. But can you just look at the activity and see when you're traveling and when you're driving? Unless you're driving a big commercial truck or something of that nature, no. Traveling to the grocery store looks identical to traveling for commercial business purposes. And driving, therefore, right? And it's the same thing with unincorporated, corporate, and incorporated. You know, 99% of small businesses do not have a president, a secretary, and a treasurer They don't have a board of directors. They don't really meet the requirements of being an incorporated entity. Okay? And yet they're being policed and harassed and taxed as if they were. So, where does the pedal hit the metal here? Well, as long as we leave it kind of hanging out there as to whether we're traveling or whether we're incorporated, they will choose for their own advantage. You see, we're leaving it up to them to decide, and 100% of the time, they're going to decide that we're under their thumb and that we owe them taxes. All right? It isn't until we stand up and say, no, I'm not engaged in any kind of commercial activity. I'm going to the grocery store to feed my family. It isn't until we stand up and say, no, my business is not incorporated, and you have no reason to presume that it is. See there, it says unincorporated. And, another big thing about being incorporated versus incorporated is that incorporated businesses have to have private insurance for everything. But if you're unincorporated, the living people are indemnified. So, there are a lot of different aspects to this where it's advantageous and it's safer for our businesses to use the unincorporated label and just put it out there so that we can avoid being mischaracterized.
It definitely makes it more clear when one claims the unincorporated status for their business.
Yes. And, right there and there, that's, like I say, that's like hanging a sign over your door that says IRS need not apply here. And if you follow it up with a little disclaimer on the, by the front desk of your business that says, federal employees and dependents receive services and buy products here at their own risk, just like that. That also takes any more fangs out of the beast.
Thank you, Anna. Well, I do see that Diana's hand went down. Diana, did that help? Did that support you and answer your question?
Yes, most certainly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Diana. All right, next up is Dolores. Hi, Dolores.
Hi everyone. Hi Anna.
Hi.
Nice to see you. I love to see you so bright and blue. That's good. I have a very specific question, Anna, because I'm helping Colombia and Ecuador. And this week I came across a man in Ecuador who is actually also a US citizen because he lived here for many years and he was even in the Navy. So when it comes in the Universal Declaration to say that you have a nationality to go to, obviously he had to put that he doesn't want to relinquish his American citizenship. But he's not American, he's a US citizen. So how do we deal with that? He actually has to renew his US passport very soon. So I said to him, hold on a minute and I'll ask Anna and see what we get from you about that.
Does he have any to like property in the US?
Oh, I don't know about
There's some feedback. Okay, great. Thanks, Dolores. Go ahead, Anna.
Yeah. I guess the question in my mind is if he's not in the US, and he doesn't have a home or anything in the US anymore, if he's retired to Ecuador, then he doesn't really need anything from us except, essentially just a free pass to get his retirement check, and that can be just handled the way it is. I guess I'm kind of confused as to why he wouldn't have to give up his US citizenship. He would just be a US retiree in Ecuador.
But maybe when he renews his passport, he can do it as we, the Americans, do, and say that he was not born in the District of Columbia. And
Well,
I don't know about that. Because he
well,
doesn't, I think he has to do it in the embassy over there.
yeah, it's a weird situation there, Dolores, because in one respect, he had the opportunity to establish a home here, but he didn't actually. He served in the US service, and then he went back to Ecuador. So he was in an international capacity the whole time. And he doesn't need to change that in order to maintain his relationship with them. He would only have to change it if he had an interest here in the United States, and it doesn't appear that he does. He would be better off signing up as a native Ecuadorian and having the US citizenship as a dual status, which is what what most people do, where they have a dual nationality or a dual citizenship or a citizenship with one country and a nationality with another. Because I do believe that his nationality, as it sits, would be with Ecuador, and he would then have the land jurisdiction in Ecuador, land and soil in Ecuador, and then he could come back here at any time as a US citizen, do whatever he had to do in this country. If he came back and he reestablished living here for a year and a day, then he could, adopt whichever state he was living in, but it would require meeting that kind of residency requirement again.
But then he wouldn't be able to be an official in their own assembly in Ecuador because he's got allegiance to U.S.
To a foreign place.
Foreign corporation.
Well, yeah. Well, he could still be a U.S. citizen and be, claiming his rights as an Ecuadorian. Claim the land and soil of Ecuador, the land of his birth that he's now living in again. That makes perfect sense. And just leave the US citizenship as a separate issue so that he doesn't get tangled up with questions about receiving checks from the US or, those sorts of things.
So it's better then that he renews his passport as a U.S. citizen without messing around with anything else in case.
Right. I would just go that route in his case, and if he comes back here and decides to settle in California, hey, stay here a year and a day and there you are. And, you can choose California as your state and go at it that way. But, just as things stand, I think he'd be best off just reapplying for a US citizenship passport and staying in Ecuador with his, that's where his nationality is. So, claim his land and soil jurisdiction back from whatever corporate thugs have been causing trouble there too.
Okay, thank you very much. I agree with you, but I just want to hear it from your voice. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dolores. All right, John Russell. Go ahead, John.
Good evening, Anna.
Hi. Did you eat 10
Things in
peaches
South
for me?
Carolina. I've been cutting them up. Feed them to my chickens, the ones that fall on the ground from the peach tree out here. Anyway, I got some good news for you for South Carolina. We have now got our website, a new website up and running. It's not completed yet, but it is on. So, and it's really, really nice.
Oh,
So it's going to
good.
be great.
Oh,
Um,
good.
couple of members asked me how can they tell if they checked their bank account from the old bank system and they don't remember if they punched that button or not. How could we find out if they need to do their paperwork over? Is there any way of telling?
No.
That's what I thought. So if they have a question in their mind about it, then just do the paperwork over and it's free except for the postage and we'll get it
Yep.
straightened out that way.
Yep. Just say I made a mistake. You can always correct a mistake. And,
Correct.
they were misled on purpose by those rats. So, they should not have to bear any onus for that. I'm hoping that we're going to have our bank renamed and up and rolling here somewhere the first part of September. So, and in the meantime, we're going to pursue action against the other British version of the Global Family Bank and hopefully shut them down so that this is not a continuing cause of confusion.
That would be great. One other thing on the new laws that we're going to be working on here and voting on soon, I hope. Is there anything in there for food for them messing with the cattle and stuff and putting the vax and all that kind of stuff in our
No,
food?
but that is a good one, John. Good one. Yep.
That's what I was thinking when somebody brought that up the other day at our meeting. I says, I'm putting that down. I'm going to ask Anna for sure on that.
Yep. Yep. See, this is why we
And the
put these
last
things
one,
out.
very good, very good. And the last one. Now, when this goes through, the military will no longer be able to go and work for any other country. Would that be a correct statement as a mercenary force?
Yeah, if the mercenary part of it is if we pass that, then the second part is that the military can't act as mercenaries anymore.
That's all I had for today. And I thank you. South Carolina thanks you.
I love South Carolina.
Everybody does. It's a
Yeah,
nice
I gotta
state.
come down there someday and see it.
Definitely. Thank you very much and have a great night.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, next up is Jeffrey Jackson on Ohio. Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Hey, let me hop over to my email. I got something from somebody today or last week. And the question was, it's booting up. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, there it is. Okay, it's uh let's see. Coordinated meeting. Will you ask Anna if what Cal Washington and is doing can and should we be helping his movement? I don't know if you know who Cal Washington is.
I do. I do. Cal Washington has one of the best presentations that explains the structure of our government that I've ever seen. Our
Should
government,
we,
even though he's Canadian. Okay.
well, and what he wants to know is, should we be supporting his movement?
I believe so, and there's really no reason why we can't. What we need to do is have our own in power movement here in the United States.
Right.
We
That's what we're
need to
doing.
form our own chapters here and do the same thing here, basically. Yeah,
Well, I've never heard of him. He gave me a link there. I'm gonna fuss around with that. Right now, I'm knee deep in the beans.
I
I've been
understand.
cutting beans for 3 days, man. I'll give out.
Yeah, that'll do it to you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thumbs up on Cal Washington.
All right. Uh, I'll relay that message. And my last question is, when is the Continental Marshals going to get their commission? I know that's the wrong word.
Appointment
When
letters.
appointment letter. When's that going to happen?
We just finished the verbiage on it, and Boyd Adams has done a fabulous job of setting up some very distinctive sort of background that can't be messed with or reproduced. And we're going to be using that as the letterhead for the appointment letters. And we are working on the verbiage with Paul because he's in a separate situation. He isn't assigned to one specific area. He's got the entire country to roam about in. And so we have to have special verbiage for him, and then he will be able to do all of the rest of the affirmation ceremonies in the areas. So it's within a couple of days here. We're real close.
I'm so happy. It's the music to my ears.
Yep.
I think it's a big step.
It's a huge step. It's long overdue. And we already have 71 marshals trained up and ready to go. So
I heard you earlier. I was tickled about that.
yeah, we'll put an end to all this smuggling and counterfeiting and human trafficking and all the other ugly stuff. So
Well, the Ohio Trading Post will have gallows for rent.
one of the guys had come up with a mobile one that was off the back of a pickup truck.
That's what I'm talking about. I rent them out.
Oh, geez.
1, 2, and 3. You know, if it's a party.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I yield.
I think
Thank
somebody
you,
had sent that to me as a reminder.
All right, be blessed.
You too.
Shalom.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Sorry, Michelle and Anna, can I just say something quickly? Empower is actually an international movement. It's not just in the United States. And Cal Washington is actually American and Canadian, both. And today, when I was reading the public law, Anna, I really thought about Empower, because the same language you're using there is used in the NOLs. And in fact, I got to know about Empower thanks to you, because I was listening to an interview of 4 hours back in September 23, and you did exactly what you did right now, saying that the best explanation of the jurisdictions that you've ever seen was by Washington. So I started Googling, and I joined Empower on the spot after your interview, thanks to you. And I have been a volunteer with Empower for 3 years. And I'm very happy for people to contact me if they want any information or assistance. Here in Michigan, we are 8 people sending NOLs. I am on my 3rd one in geoengineering, and you learn an awful lot. So anybody who is interested, you are free to contact me, because I'm very happy to share anything I can.
Yes, he's got a absolutely killer notice of liability. And, he's got a firm vision of what is wrong, and therefore what we can do about it, which is rare. And so, yeah, I did know that it had gone international. I knew that there were groups here in the United States that were doing it. And that's great too. And so get involved. This is how we take back our freedom from being threatened by all these utility companies and being surveillanced in our homes and having smart meters that are inaccurate estimators of our utility usage. I have a friend who's an electrician who did a small adjustment to the way that whole thing was set up, and my electric bill dropped by half because the meter was just set so that it was constantly overestimating my actual usage and reporting that usage back maliciously to the utility company, and they were charging me as if that was reality. So, you know, the lies have gotten up past my waders now, where they're even lying about how much water you use and, you know, how much electricity you use, and all these things are being grossly overestimated so that the utility companies make a profit at our expense. And they're also being used to surveillance us. And so, you know, this is a big issue too. It doesn't happen to be my only issue or even my biggest issue, but Cal Washington took on after it early on, and he has developed a very good system. So I recommend it. Definitely recommend it.
And by the way, he made a beautiful prayer last year on the 1st of September for you. Absolutely beautiful prayer. Because I asked him to pray in our prayer group, and I actually have it recorded.
I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, he really admires you.
Well, we're in the same fight together.
Thank you, Dolores. Okay, next up we have Barbara Lane. Go ahead, Barbara.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Anna. How you doing?
I'm doing.
I hate to be a bearer of bad news, but I was recently contacted by somebody on the Tennessee Assembly, and they're having a problem, or it has been, I guess, changed. I'm not quite sure. That people calling in and not being able to show their face, they can't call in anymore to the assembly meetings. And I don't think that's fair, because sometimes, like, you might have a truck driver that wants to call into the meeting, but he can't get on the video. Right. So I'm not sure how we would correct that, because it was voted on that these people need to call in, need to be able to be on a computer in order for their face to show, and they couldn't do phone call ins.
Well, that doesn't sound right. You know, anything that is done can be undone by voting it back and discussing it again. I would bring forward the facts of the matter, that there are people that legitimately cannot show their face, and that showing their name, you know, as an assembly member should be good enough.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that. I'll get back to those people and recommend that be done.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, you know, we take actions and we're just not thinking about that one particular aspect of something. We go ahead and do it, and then we go back and go, oh yeah. Just like tonight with John Russell bringing up the fact of animal vaccines not being included in that long list of things that need to go away. Same kind of thing, where, you know, if you forget something, you go back, you put it in. And if you forget some circumstance and you have made a rule that's not really fair or not really practical, you can go back and review it.
Okay. Thank you so much for your advice.
You betcha.
I yield.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, next up is Marlene on Washington. Go ahead, Marlene.
Hi, Michelle. Hi, Anna. It's Marlene.
Hi.
Quick question. I wanted to add on to what that gal was just saying about showing your face.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on lots of calls with the marshals and their town hall, and that has been a topic. And Paul has said multiple times that if you can come on for a second, because a
Yeah.
lot of people don't have the internet, and just so they can see that it's you and your name matched, and for the recording, whatever, then you're off the, you know, off the call or whatever. Not off the call, but off the camera. So that's what I know.
Right.
I'm checking to see if you got your gift of 50 puppies on a beautiful piece of fabric in
Not
the
yet.
mail. What?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to have to double check on that. I'm sorry for that. But
Oh,
thank you. And thank you again for what all you do. And we're working hard to get this taken care of, Anna.
I know
Change
you
our
are.
world. Change our world to be a better place. But
That's it. 100%.
that's it. It's not about us, it's about the next kids. So love you all. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Marlene. Okay, next up, Priscilla on Jersey. Go ahead, Priscilla.
Oh, greetings, everybody. Greetings, Anna. Um, this is what I want to bring out. I don't know if anybody's heard about it, about the doctors with the fraudulent credentials from India. New Jersey is one of the largest violators. Like they say, a high percentage of doctors has not graduated and they bought their credentials in India. And I think Florida is the next highest, and then California. So what's going on is, and I think back when there was COVID, and they were putting people in the hospital, and putting people to sleep. Many of those people, got kickbacks for how many people were laid to rest, and these doctors were unqualified. There is such an enormous room for these people to have uh, you know right now they've done this like the last month, and I really want to know, is there anything that we can do in terms of the assemblies and nationwide, in terms of making sure these people uh, from other countries that come over here and monopolize certain areas of our government or our system. These doctors do not have credentials. They said they've turned up information. 90% of these people are buying their credentials. And I just think about it because I had COVID and I was in the hospital, and the things that people were being put to sleep by unqualified doctors. And it's proven now, and they're finding it's really big. Is there anything we can do about that? All right, making sure that these people coming over from other countries as doctors, that they really have the credentials and they met the requirements for being doctors, uh, physicians. Okay, and at this point, I really would like to see if we could do something about that in terms of making sure these people come over from other countries have the correct credentials. I yield.
Well, that is really kind of strange because it used to be that if you wanted to practice medicine in this country and you were coming from some other country, there had to be an agreement in place, and your program, your education program, and everything had to meet U.S. standards. So apparently that's changed. If It's something I would have to look into, Priscilla. I really,
Yes, ma'am.
and it's certainly very disturbing.
Well, I'll tell you, most of the people that are participating in it, they're from India.
Okay, well, that's something, that's a State Department issue if there ever was one. And, you know, our thing is we don't license healthcare because we're on the basis is if you harm someone, it doesn't matter if you have a license or not, you harmed them, you know. So we have a much simpler system in the American states per se, is that you're under an obligation not to cause harm. And so that is actually a stronger requirement than anything that the federales put up. But even what the federales do with licensing should be sufficient to make sure that people are really legitimately doctors and not just somebody who picked up a doctor's credential from the corner 7-Eleven. That's very disturbing. Do you have
Ma'am?
any information like news reports or anything you
Yes,
could
ma'am.
pull?
Yes, ma'am. I could send it to you. I tried to bring it up within our assembly, but I, I, you know, there's other things that we're like, because we're so small, we
Sure.
can't deal with it. But I think it's very important, and the reason why I think it's important is that many of us that are have a lot of information, and with the COVID and everything, they were trying to, take out a large section of people that were maybe my age. I'm older than you. Uh, I got COVID and I saw what they were doing, and they put me in the hospital, and they were just like checking people out. And they was just doing A, B, C, D, and you're out of here, just like, put a tag on your toe. I was there. Uh, and I'm seeing like, wow, based on where I live, we live New Jersey. New Jersey is very, very, college oriented, and all of these people are, there's a lot of people that are very, very upset that these people are buying bogus credentials and coming over here and, just writing people off. And and especially in light of the fact what that guy has been in the Senate this week, disavowing and not taking any weight for all of these people being put to sleep. You know, it is real. They said 90% that these people are coming over here from other nations. And what's his name? Rubio said something about that. They were checking into that, and they said there was a interview, and the lady said from India. She says, she raises her hand and says, "Oh, we have an arrangement." And I'm like, what is the arrangement? They left it out there, just like, well, you can't say, this from this. I'm not pointing out any country, but I'm just saying where they're saying these people are coming up with these bogus credentials from India. That it is really, really big, and Florida and California. New Jersey is the largest, and they're building the biggest mansions you've ever seen in your life all over New Jersey. I yield.
Okay, I'll see
I'm
what I
trying to
can
get you.
find out.
Thank you, ma'am. I really appreciate it. It's always, but I yield. I yield.
Thank you, Priscilla.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Priscilla. I didn't know that all that was going on. Holy smokes.
Well, we've got a situation where they've made it so difficult for people to get through medical school in this country. And then they've relaxed everything in other countries because they couldn't get enough doctors, right? So it's just all part of the crazy for-profit healthcare sector. If it had never become a for-profit sector, if Richard M. Nixon had never been friends with certain people, then it would be a whole different story. But instead, we've had our medical sector has been for profit since the 70s, and it's just gotten wilder and wilder and wilder.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Anna, we have one more hand up and then we'll wrap it up for tonight. We have Renee Marie on Michigan. So go ahead, Renee.
Hi, Anna. How are you?
Good.
Good. Um, I just heard a very alarming thing, and I was just wanting to question, why are we entertaining there was even such a thing as COVID when there were PCR tests that give you a false positive, and that Fauci's already come out and pled the fifth. I mean, why are we entertaining this? There's no such thing as COVID. Um, I'm
Right.
just alarmed by that. So I yield.
Well, if you stop and think about it, whether something exists or not, especially something that you can't see, it's always this way. If one of the things that struck me early on was that by attaching this whole narrative to a virus that nobody can see and that has never been shown to exist, it's a situation very similar to the use of the concept of God by the church, that, blame it on God because he's, you can't point your finger at God, right? You can't point your finger at a virus. And it is a matter of belief as to whether it exists or not. Now, I personally have seen enough in my life to believe in God. I never saw anything that caused me to believe in the COVID virus, right? And it is disturbing that we continue to talk about it in terms of it being something real and valid when it was basically just a horrible, horrible commercial scam. And I'll just bring it out in those terms because they were making money hand over fist on this. And they were totally reckless about life and about privacy and individual rights and everything else you can think of. And I'll tell you what it was all aiming for, and it was to redefine everyone who got that shot as a transhuman owned in entirety by the patent holders, which the primary patent holder was DARPA. So once again, the military came up looking exceedingly bad, and DARPA in particular wound up looking exceedingly guilty, exceedingly criminal, and exceedingly bad. And, no, we have not forgotten that one iota. In fact, DARPA is on the, if you want to call it that, the list of the most guilty, most violent, most dangerous, and out of control commercial corporation franchises that needs to be taken out and completely either destroyed, liquidated, or restructured and put under land law. We're trying to get everything restructured back under land law because land law is much more protective of people. The sea law doesn't give a fine flying one. And as I said, they presume that you're dead when you go to sea anyway. So it doesn't, they're looking at things from a very twisted standpoint with that. But yeah, DARPA's on one of the major top 10 corporations slated for destruction because of that.
I appreciate you clearing the record. Thank you. I yield.
Take care.
This is Priscilla. I just wanted to add on the information that I will be sending you. I had put it onto our site and I was admonished. Okay, and they didn't want to hear that. I don't understand it. That's why I'm bringing it forth to you. I'm going to send you the same email that I put on for New Jersey Assembly, and
Okay.
nobody wanted to hear that. And I'm like, really, the person they have a program, but the person, when they came in, they gave you all the facts, where it was coming from. They talked about, facts, 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 and nobody wants to hear that. And I'm like, these people are participating in eliminating certain people, and certain people that have information, and at certain age, the age of us, we have the money, we have the retirement accounts and everything, we have the homes, we own these homes and everything, we got the deeds and everything, and that's where the people were being taken out, was in the nursing homes and the hospitals. And I was part of that, and I saw it on the inside. They put me in there for 18 days and they wouldn't let me out. The doctor kept saying, I don't know why you're still here. So I'm telling you, and these doctors in New Jersey, they're mostly people from that other place I was telling you about. It's a huge amount of doctors, and they're from this person. I'm trying to tell you, it's real. And now, you're kind of connecting the dots, because all of a sudden, Fauci's up there in front of Congress. Why is he here all of a sudden about connect the dots? COVID 4 years ago. And now so that's the only thing I'm gonna say. I will be sending it to you and more information.
Okay.
I yield. Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody.
Yeah, I don't know why people wouldn't want to know about that and talk about it, because the safety of our healthcare system has been undermined. And you're precisely right to be concerned.
And especially right now, everybody's having strokes. I had strokes. I'm having strokes. Everybody I know in our siblings having strokes. Oh, okay. All right. I seen, have I seen this before? Yeah. It's stroke season for everybody.
Right, and they're trying to put in the mRNA vaccine crap into the flu vaccine, so people think they're taking a flu vaccine and it's actually COVID again. So
Thank
people
you.
need to know that.
Thank you.
And get rid of that. The change that it makes in your cells is irreversible by any normal technology that we have. It actually goes in there and inserts itself into the human genome and alters it.
Mitochondrial.
Yes, it changes it. And so you can't get rid of you can't get rid of the spike protein. It's going to be there to a greater or lesser extent. And it's going to compete with the NAC, the N-acetylcholine receptor. So it's going to cause problems for people. Anyone who had that shot, it's going to cause problems for them throughout their lifetime. It's going to cause problems for their children who inherited.
Yes.
It was a terrible, terrible, terrible act of pollution of the blood, is the specific biblical crime.
It was essentially a Holocaust.
Yes, it's a genocide.
They are now, there's genocide. A whole people with knowledge and information and godlies and God people, they just wiped them out. And we just sitting there acting like we're not concerned. When I tell you, these people have no degrees, they have no, they only follow what they're saying. You bring them in the hospital. If they get dead, it doesn't matter how they get dead or get unalived. You get this much money. They're being paid to unalive these people legally, lawfully. I mean, look, there's nothing we could do. What can we do about that? I'm sorry. I have a challenge because I have been the victim of it over and over again. I had the stroke and I had COVID. Be very wary of that. Right now, the popular thing is giving people strokes. 25 years old, 30, 60, 80. Everybody's getting strokes now. Oh, come on. I don't believe that.
Well, if I interject into something here, a couple of things. Priscilla, first of all, I am so sorry about what happened to you, and to anybody who believed the lies. And there were a lot of reasons for people to believe the lies. The lies were very convincing with all of the different, media and trusted local officials.
I never took the virus. I never took it.
Well, right? Even with the shedding,
clarify that, but I still caught it.
There's tons of shedding and all the things, and I can't speak for your whole assembly, but what I can tell you is that it may be that because it was the concern was about foreign doctors having licenses, et cetera, it might be that that's an international jurisdiction matter. So it's good that you brought it forth to Anna for her to deal with it at a higher level. And on all 50 states, we're still tasked with staying focused on assembling and also, of course, dealing with bad actors. If you've got people on your state that are doing things in a fraudulent manner, it's up to your assembly to take action. And
I understand that. I'm not saying anything contrary, but I'm being actively, as I'm sitting, I could disappear tomorrow because I'm not bringing that to the forefront. All right. It's not that it's being done in a mountain, everything. It's done to all of us on the assembly. If it's not us, it's our relatives also. And this is the reason why I'm bringing it's not because it's foreign, just to assembly. Everybody on the world caught COVID. What are you talking about? Everybody, the whole world caught it. What's foreign? Come on now.
Well, in terms of enforcement,
I don't know anything. I'm just saying, enforcement and how we can deal with it, that's not on me. But I know I'm a victim. That's the only thing I'm saying. And many, many more people. I got people that passed with it, relatives, friends, okay? And it's still happening. They can bring up COVID at the drop of a dime in order to release some of us at any kind. They can still bring it back, because you have these doctors that are buying it off. Boom. Oh, COVID. All right. This is the procedure that you use. Boom, boom, boom. You're dead. Out of here. And that's the only thing I'm saying. That's the only thing I'm saying. In terms of if we can deal with it or not, that's why I'm here in this coordinators meeting. And everybody will also become more sensitive to what I'm talking about. Everybody's going to find out what I'm talking about. That's the only thing I'm bringing the attention. I'm not complaining about New Jersey Assembly. I'm telling you what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I'm doing. I'm relaying that. And I understand the jurisdiction. No, the jurisdiction, this has happened to us. The most people that got murdered was here in New Jersey and New York. They was emptying out nursing homes.
Yeah, they were.
And not allowing people to be with their
to go in. Yes.
Yep.
They were also getting rid of a lot of homeless people that just disappeared.
Thank you. And so we're worried about the jurisdiction, and we're the ones that's like holding the world up because we've been here, we have a calling, and then you're going to take us out another way. And I don't want to be remiss in not bringing it up, and we're not even made aware of it until they done a whole nother wipeout of us. You wondering why, oh, this person is sick, this brother, and saying all this. They're doing this. You go into this doctor who does only doing ABC, instead of doing real medicine, real natural medicine, and using what God has created on this earth for us to use. And this is what I'm saying. It's not because A, B, or because these people are getting money and this is where they come. This is how they're doing it. And it is big. It's big. It's big in Florida. Marco Rubio discussed it, and New Jersey is number one. Florida is number two, and California.
Well, Marco Rubio's the one that needs to be on his toes and going after that with India.
That's what he said. Yeah. Yep.
So hopefully he's going to get going on that one. There's a lot of this kind of thing that has gone on where these commercial corporations, that especially the big insurance companies, the reason that the elderly are especially targeted is that the last 3 years of a person's life typically rack up the greatest amount of medical expense in their entire
Yes,
life.
ma'am.
And so the more of the elderly that they can get rid of, that takes the top load off of the insurance industry. And so I blame the insurance industry as much as the pharmaceutical companies for what happened with COVID.
Thank you.
But it's all commercially motivated, and it's all murder for hire. And what they did is that they came in and they gave the doctors and the nurses, the registered nurses, they gave them a
Carte
choice.
blanche.
Yeah, well, they basically said that you come along with us and do this and keep track of how many of them die of COVID, and you'll get $25,000, and the hospital will get another $25,000 per head. And if you don't do this, we'll go after your medical license and you won't be able to make a living. So they gave them a carrot and a stick.
And we can't forget about
No.
Big Pharma.
Oh no, they were making it a hand over fist. Pfizer and Moderna and AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson, all those guys were in that up to their ears, making money hand over fist. And
yep, all those licensed doctors. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
All those quote educated in U.S. doctors.
You had to have that the medicine for the blood thinners. What was it? $400. When we grew up, my mother and father took a bare aspirin for blood pressure. Then when COVID comes out, they got you paying $400 for what's the name of that? It's electric. I got it downstairs. I wouldn't even take it. The pills for blood pressure. And as soon as you touch your arm, you would bruise. You would bruise. When I had COVID, I was bruised. You touched my forehead, all over your body. I forgot the name of it. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The blood pressure, the pill about your blood. Okay, and this is what I'm saying. It was all very, very tightly, just a sure thing to move us out of here. And it's getting ready to happen again. This is the reason why I'm very concerned. They're gonna do this again. They could do this at any time they want because we haven't exposed it yet. All right. He's in the Senate right now, and he's smirking because he know he can't be touched. All right.
That son of a bitch. I don't know why he's still walking around, to tell you the truth. I
don't either.
I'm really shocked that he isn't in jail or dead, or both. Him and Bill Gates, for the things that they've done.
He think he can't be touched because we can't connect the dots, and the dots are there to connect. They're right there. Until we deal with it, these people are coming over here. If you come to this area and see these big 10, 15,000 feet homes with 50 and straight over from India, and their doctors, and they don't know any more than the great hospitals from the American, our children that we're sending our kids to college, and they're coming over here. I'm trying to tell y'all, it's on and popping. They're building these mansions. They're stealing our land. I'm not supposed to say all this stuff, but see, when I say this, then I get shut down because we're not dealing this. Well, if you're not dealing with it, I might not be here next week, and you might not either. Oh gosh.
Priscilla, you know where all this started? You know where they finally were sure that they could pull this kind of crap and get away with it? Was the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
This is where they started this, and this is where it needs to end. We need to bring it all the way back, and we need to clean out. We need to get rid of this whole system of things and go back to a good old American way of doing things. And
Yes,
if it
ma'am.
comes down to it, we're going to have to go back to, you know, our own justice system, which is what I'm trying to get everybody to organize, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to have to start taking care of ourselves, because it's very obvious that these foreign federal service contractors that we've got in here bleeding us dry are not here for the good of this country. They're just here bleeding us dry in every way that
Yes,
they
ma'am.
can. And it's all this incorporated stuff. It's all these big commercial corporations that are taking full advantage of the lawlessness in this country. I just got a report on my desk today how Kroger, one of the big, the big food chains, collected 62 pages of data on one customer, tracking what they bought at Kroger stores and when they bought it, how they bought it, what brands they bought and whatnot, and sold this information, and it's making up like $500 million worth of revenue for Kroger a year to illicitly track their customers. Data phishing, basically.
Mm.
And all this stuff is going on, and all these do-wabs in Congress are just sitting there going, "Oh, isn't that nice?"
AI.
You know, they all need to be rooted out. I mean, root, stem, and leaf, as my mother used to say about weeds. And we need to have enough turnover in Congress so that they get the fear of God in them.
Yes, ma'am.
Know that they're going to be the ones that get booted out next. The problem is that in order to boot them out, you have to, accept being a U.S. citizen. And what really needs to happen is that the U.S. corporation and its officers need to be sacked. And the entire structure needs to be turned over to the land jurisdiction and to land law again, which is where it should have been always. And, we just have to kind of square up against it all and push. We all need to do everything we can in terms of using our voices, using our feet, using our money, using our time, using our education, writing those letters, bringing that pressure on these organizations and individuals, so that they know that they're being watched, so that they know that we understand what they're doing, so that this cannot be allowed to go on. Okay. And I always go back to Kennedy's assassination, is they got away with it. We as a country did not stand up and go after them. We did not grab the Warren Commission by their proverbials and tell them, you are going to get down to the truth of this, and we are going to have the actual murderers. We didn't do that back in 1963. And it has led to this. And I don't care if it's 1963 or whenever it is, it still has to be done. If we go back and we're going to finger big oil in that. I mean, big oil had their hands in that up to, But that's not only, it's going to be CIA. it's going to be FBI.
Mm.
It's going to be U.S. Marshals. It's going to be MI6 by omission.
Okay. Thank
Now,
you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for listening.
We all need to get back down to it and really start enforcing. And we have the means to do that. We can lawfully, peacefully do that by booting up our assemblies and getting our jural assemblies trained up and getting our people going on their own jural assembly. Because we need those grand juries, we need those trial courts up and functioning.
Yes, ma'am.
And in the meantime, I'm doing everything I can in terms of.
I know that's the sad. I empathize with you so much. I just appreciate you so much.
Well, we just get up every day and we slug them some more, Priscilla.
Hey, you my girl. You my main girl. You don't even know. I love you so much.
Well, I love you too. We're still here.
Yes, ma'am.
As long as we are.
And all of us, everybody who's here is good. I'm not trying to throw anybody on the bus, but I do. I say what I have to say. A lot of times it doesn't come out right. And you know what? I'm God. All right. I'm part of God. All right. Everything's not perfect. I'm not perfect, but I'm still here.
Sometimes that's the biggest satisfaction there is that in spite of everything, we're still here. So, yes, you brought forward some very important things here, and I think that this is something well worth our thought and our action. I'm not sure exactly how to approach this one just off the top of my head, but it's definitely a great think tank subject.
I will start sending you information about that. More than what I already. Okay, I will do that.
I appreciate that.
Appreciate
That's, it's more that we need to bring up with the de facto and with the principals, the Pope and the British hierarchy and all of them. This is just, it's gone way too far.
Yes. I yield.
Okay, take care, Priscilla.
Thank you, Priscilla. Okay, next up is Rebecca on North Carolina. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Hi, Anna. It's
Hi.
How are you doing? It's late, but you're still up and holding out. So amazing. I don't want to ask any more questions other than the ones that are at the top of my mind. And the first is just a quick answer. People want to know if they want an incorporated business, can they still have one?
Well, the answer is yes, but if you have an incorporated business, then you have to act as a British business under British law and British taxation scheme and all of the rest of it.
That's what I thought. And so it's not that we're being forced. It's just that this is really good to have unincorporated as an option going forward. And we comprehend what that means and the protections therein. So wonderful. There's no forcing happening here. The second thing is, unless you want to add to that.
Well, it's basically just an understanding that people should have that if you're going to incorporate a British Crown corporation or a Roman municipal corporation, that you are then subjecting yourself to foreign law. And they have a very distinctly different foreign law, and they have taxation systems and everything else that are foreign. And if you go into that knowingly and that's what you want to do, it's like I say, can an American own a British can an American own a British company? Sure. You can go over to Britain and you can buy a pub in Britain And, you know, you can make money off your pub in Britain and you can go sit there and enjoy the ambiance and have a great time. But at the end of the day, you understand that, hey, you bought a British business and therefore you are under British law and you are going to have to pay British taxes and all the rest of it. And it
Right.
same with the municipal guys. If you buy a Roman
Exactly.
municipal corporation license, you're going to have to do things according to their stamp.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. I comprehend that. The other thing is you have now almost 6,000 articles, and I've been reading them for only 6.5 years, so I've pretty much read them. But I'm offering, along with a team on North Carolina, a bit of a synopsis of topics from your articles. Now, we do a Saturday morning Alliance training. We call it Alliance because it's all of the 50 states together invited. And I'd just like to hear from you if you think that that's something you would recommend for people to come. We do a presentation with some of the things that you've said in your articles, and then we're continuing on with a seatment kind of a theme, but this is now more education because we've gone through the documents that Tennessee and Ohio have done. So now we're doing the topic of courts and enforcement, how we need our public law. And it'll be a 2-week presentation based basically on everything you've ever either said on a podcast or written in an article about that. So there's a lot of information, but it's basically a round table where we all just talk about some of the things you've said. And when complacency sets into an assembly, like you said, we've known about the criminality for decades and decades and decades. So what are we doing about it? And it's like, well, we're learning. We're just still learning. And it's like, when are we going to just stand up the courts, you know? In your list of things to become a sovereign nation, standing up courts out of 12 things is number 6. It's not the last thing. It's right in the middle. So if we get to standing up our courts, which is about 6 officials and 30 jurors, it really isn't the hugest deal in the world. It doesn't need to be rocket science. So how are we going to do this, Anna? Because I'm banging my head against the wall. Lots of people are. And we're just like, why does it have to be so difficult? We're learning, learning, learning. What's next? What am I missing? What
It's
are we
it's
missing?
it's not that it's so difficult. It's actually easier than putting together a softball team. It's because people are so indoctrinated and so programmed when they think of law to think of the de facto experience they've had with 80 million statutes and you know all these rogue judges sitting in presentment over the bench and all these district attorneys and all these public defenders and yeah, it's a gigantic show and it's very intimidating. It's meant to be intimidating, but that's their law. It's not our law. It was never intended to be law for people. It was intended to be law for businesses and corporations, foreign businesses and foreign corporations, not us. Our law is much more gritty, much more practical, and extremely simple. I mean, it all comes down to, is there an injured party, yes or no? Were they injured themselves or was their property injured? Those two things. Okay?
Is
And
there a
then
remedy?
yeah, and then you just the jury just listens to both sides if there are two sides present, and they render a decision, and that's that. It's very simple. It's just incredibly simple compared to everything that goes on in the de facto courts. The only thing that the judge really has to do is to keep everybody on topic, right? And make rulings about whether evidence is admissible or not. Making sure to keep things like secondhand testimony that hasn't been verified separately out of the proceedings, things like that. But otherwise, our law is so simple. It is so practical. It is just such a relief compared to what people go through in any of the other legal systems. Our lawful system is piece of cake. I mean, it doesn't mean there are hard decisions that are made. I mean, our system includes the possibility of capital punishment, and our system tends to be much more strict in terms of, if you go out and you kill somebody's dog, then you're responsible not only for paying for the dog, but for doing community service. You're not going to just get away with harming someone and harming their property. You're going to actually pay for it one way or another. You're going to actually pay them for it and pay the community for it. You're not going to get away with those sorts of actions. That I use the example of the guy who knows that he's drunk and gets in his car and starts driving home and nods off and runs off the road and kills a kid on their bicycle. In the current system, in the de facto system, that's a slap on the hand and a DWI with a involuntary manslaughter charge. In our system, that's you killed a child.
Mm-hmm. Murder.
And it was premeditated because you knew you were drunk. So, you're facing murder 1.
Yep.
So, it's not that our system is weak. Our system, if anything, is more strict in a way, because it, number one, presumes that you are self-governing, that you're grown up enough to make good decisions. And if you don't make good decisions, it's held against you, right? But number two, it's because when you have greater freedom, you also have greater responsibility. So if you want the freedom to know when you've had, you go out to dinner and you have a couple of beers with dinner, it's just fine if you manage to make it home without running off the road and killing somebody. Okay, you got the freedom, but you also have the responsibility.
So we're gonna just keep learning, and when are we gonna just stand up all the courts on all the states and keep moving forward to sovereign status?
I'm ready. We already have our, we already are seated in General Assembly, so we already have sovereign status reestablished throughout the country and as an international instrumentality. What we need to do, though, in order to get some of the worst abuses of this current system under control, is to stand up the courts. And that is kind of number one in terms of, having the infrastructure, the bureaucracy, and the credibility, the record. Because along with setting up the juries and the courts and the enforcement, we need to have the record keeping ability so that we can demonstrate to the world what we've done and why we've done it. We at this point, we cannot be accused of being vigilantes, although God knows there are enough issues that deserve that kind of response. But as long as we play it straight and keep good records and do it in a very practical way, there isn't anything that they can complain about or try to horn in on.
So if we had 30 ASNs in a jury pool in a state assembly, and we also had the 6 officials, coroner, justice, bondsman, marshal, court clerk, and court recorder, that's 6 officials only. That's enough? That's enough, right? To stand our
Yes.
courts. So we need
Yes.
36 people.
Right, you need a softball team.
And only 12 of the 30 are going to be on the trial jury anyway, or on the jury. So
Right.
we actually only need 18
For
on.
each. You need a grand jury and a trial jury.
So you need the 30. Okay. All right. Well, that seems doable. I'm not getting it though. I'm not getting why it isn't done yet.
It's because people are afraid. I've wondered this myself for, it's a softball team. Why the hell can't we get a softball team together? It's not that hard, and the law is not anything that we have to be afraid of. So,
Okay.
why are we not just getting this done?
Well, I have a question. Are we more afraid of that or of all the corruption continuing?
Well, there's yeah, that's a great question. That's one, a long time ago I answered was that the corruption is more to be feared than taking action against it, because there's more of us than there are them. And here's this, we're not being paid, so they can't fire us.
Oh, we're being paid in love, Anna.
Well, we wish we were. But yeah, there is a lot of love in our organization. There's a lot of people that give of their time and money and everything else to make it possible. So never underestimate the power of love. But it's the fact that when people are called to judge someone else, they naturally have a repulsion toward that office. And I think it's just built into us that we know that we're imperfect too, and judging somebody else is an odious business. It's not something that you want to do, but sometimes you have to do it. You just have to pick up and do it. Like Fauci. Look at that as an example. If ever a man needed a grand jury to come forward and indict him and try him and send him to jail forever and ever, there's a good example of it. Would it be fun for the people doing it? Hell no, because they'd have to sit there and listen to it all. They'd have to think about it. They'd have to make a decision. They'd have to make that little mark on the box and be responsible for that.
Well,
But we
isn't
have
a capital punishment a unanimous decision by a jury anyway? So it's the 12 or the 24.
Yeah, but still making that decision is not something everybody wants to do. I mean, there may be some of us out there that would like to send him 6 feet under, but you see what I mean? It's a big responsibility to be a juror, especially in some of these cases where you're looking at treason and kidnapping and child trafficking and drug smuggling, and there are some really horrible things going on out there, and our courts, once they're stood up, are inevitably going to be faced with making decisions about these things and carrying forward on the execution of the sentencing. And so I understand why people are, if not if not afraid, repulsed by the responsibility. It's a huge responsibility. But it still has to be done. And
Right,
we all
because
know why.
then the complacency sets in and you just let the status quo continue. And we can't. We just have to decide we can't let it continue.
Right, right. We're at a point where the government has turned so corrupt and so parasitical and so cronyism has defined it, and commercial interests have defined it for so long that they are treating us like cattle or worse than cattle. And so we have no choice but to take up the responsibility that God gave us to self-govern and to operate our courts along with everything else and to get the job done. And the more that we delay and the more that we wait and the more that we kind of look at each other and say, gee, I don't know if I have the authority or the right to judge this other person. Well, as long as we do that, then we're standing in the way of addressing the things that are threatening us and threatening our country.
And what if they make another pandemic and more people are murdered in hospitals? I mean, I'm here because I deep dove when my mom was in the hospital and murdered there.
Right. And think of all of the people that you know who have died as a result of that. I've got at least a dozen people that I personally know would still be here in all likelihood, if not for what they did with that quote unquote pandemic.
So if we had more courts up on more states, would that help, without being crass, would that help the banking because they know we're an authority and claiming our authority?
Well, sure.
Okay.
Everything that we are doing helps toward the greater end and good. I think that there were some people who came here to, take part in what we're doing because they sensed, oh, well, we could get a big tax advantage or we could be relieved of a lot of reporting burdens and all of that's true. And there are other people who came because they heard that there was money and, basically an inheritance to be had and that they had a lot of prepaid credit that could be issued to them. So yeah, there are a lot of reasons to support this that are economic or business oriented, but the real reason to do it is that if you don't, it's just going to get worse. And
Right.
So we have to get organized. We have to take up the responsibility of our own governance, and we have to defend ourselves from being attacked by our own employees.
And our courts, being general, superior, and concurrent, can take any case they wish on any jurisdiction.
Well, they have to take it on their own jurisdiction. Something has to have occurred in Kentucky for a Kentucky state court to address it. Right?
Right. Yeah, on the land and soil yeah. That's the general. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, and the same thing with, international matters. If it's a matter of international law, we have to boot up our federal courts. And we can do that under the Federation because once the American subcontractors stopped functioning, then the Federation, by operation of law, became responsible for those activities. So yeah, and once the states get organized and have their general assemblies up and running, then we can look at the Federation side of it and get the international courts up and running.
Oh, that's excellent. That's new for me to hear that. Thank you. All right. Well, we're gonna work on it. We're gonna do the alliance training. We're gonna work on public law and why we're the only ones that can claim and make it happen. So get our courts up, and we got a really big crowd coming on Saturdays. So, and it's an international crowd. So we have really good conversations, really bright, dedicated, committed people who are determined. So we are doing stuff, and we want results though. So we can talk,
Yeah,
talk, talk until kingdom come, but we got to get people to step up and be voted into office.
This is John
right,
Russell. May I?
sure.
I go to her meetings for North Carolina when I can, and she does a great job. Her whole team does. And I think that they're going to be up and going here pretty quick because they are really on the ball. And they have a lot of people coming in from all over the world to their training calls on Saturday morning. So she's doing a great job, Anna, and
I
I'm
believe
very
it.
proud of her. I yield.
I
Thank you.
believe it. Thank you, John. Well, and there's a lot of value just doing what we did here tonight in talking about things, talking about issues, talking about concerns, talking about building the pillars and how important it is and why. I mean, this is where we get our true inspiration is when we think about these things, right?
Right, that's true. We
So,
are spiritual soul beings as well, right? I
right.
can tend to be too pragmatic sometimes.
Well, you get thumbs up, and so does Cal Washington, and so do all the other people that are out there making a difference and you know putting in the time and the effort to think about things and to grapple with these questions and search for the answers. It is not easy. It was not handed to us on a silver platter. There was nobody alive anymore who remembered what it was like before. So,
Anna, your search for truth is truly beautiful. It's such a shining light for me in my life to see how hard you've worked against all odds. So I thank you.
well, I just take my inspiration from all those salmon swimming upstream every year.
Oh, don't make me hungry now. All right. Well, thank you so much for the conversation and for allowing it, Michelle, as well, for hosting us all as always. And much love to you, Anna. Please know that we always send our prayers and love for your health, wellness, and strength to get through these next days, hours, months, hopefully all resolution and accomplishment all comes very, very soon.
I hope so. We have been working for a long time and we are getting more and more support internationally. More and more people are waking up all over the world. So it's a wonderful thing. And thank you very much for your question and bringing forward the information about the Saturday meetup. Is there somewhere it's posted? So if somebody wants to attend, they can get.
Yeah, it's I mean, we're just sort of a homespun group really at this point. We just posted it on our website. We have info at the North Carolina Assembly.net. You can ask for an invite. Info at the North Carolina Assembly.net. And then I think Johnny Perry, our amazing Johnny Perry, he's our big communicator. He's got a loudspeaker attached to him. He puts it on a few Telegram channels, and I think Tony Talk supports us. And I'm not really the greatest for handing all these little links out. Honestly, there's a great team that works this. I just put together presentations. I love to teach. I'm a teacher and I love to dig. So I'm a gardener too. Sometimes I find treasure. uh, but
Awesome.
yeah, so we'll find places to post it. Maybe we'll ask Paul Strammer to post it.
Yeah, get the word out for these sorts of opportunities to talk and research and dig and look at things because it is invaluable.
It is. It really is. The contributions are fantastic.
Well, guys, Rebecca, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm getting tired and losing my voice, so I'm gonna quit. How's that?
Well,
Gonna go to bed.
you made it through all the hands plus extra, and it's just a little bit past the top of the hour. So thank you. Absolutely. No one is going to fault you for hanging in here until after 8 p.m. Pacific. Thank you.
Okay, you guys, take care.
Thank you very much. God bless you,
Thank
Anna.
you. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Anna.
Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Anna.
Anna.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank
Thank,
you, Anna.
thank
And
you,
Michelle.
Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.